Man, that sunset is gorgeous.
Grill, patio, sunset. Hard to get better than that. Unless you're browsing Carvana's inventory while you soak it all in.
Oh, burger time.
So sit back, get comfortable. Carvana's got thousands of cars under $20,000 just waiting for you.
I could stay here forever.
Carvana, where car buying meets comfort, meets convenience. Download the app or visit Carvana.com today. That's not just the sound of that first sip of Morning Joe. It's the sound of someone shopping for a car on Carvana from the comfort of home.
That's a good blend.
It's time to take it easy, like answering some easy questions to get pre-qualified for a car in minutes.
Talk about starting the morning right.
Just like customizing your terms so your car fits your budget. Visit Carvana.com or download the app to experience car shopping the way it should be. Convenient, comfortable. Ah.
Anywhere between 8 and 11 million people flock to the shores of a certain man-made lake in northern Georgia every year. Tourism websites abound with idyllic photos of soothing sunsets, maritime amusements, and serene blue waters. On the surface, it's portrayed as the perfect place for a vacation getaway. Below the surface, it's a different story. The 625 billion gallons of water contained within the lake encircle a dark, secret past. Sunken beneath the placid azure waters are the remains of entire towns which stood in the way of progress. Towns which had been dying slow deaths, and some with histories of hate and senseless murder. Towns that had buried their dead for generations beneath the earth of the valley prior to its flooding. These graves, which lay unmoved beneath the lake's bottom, some claim are the source of the strange happenings that plague the lake's waters. A curse that has made this particular lake one of the most dangerous lakes in North America. This case file, join the theorists for the monthly Ron Pond fan pick and crack a few cold ones along the spooky shores of Georgia's weirdest water hole in The Curse of Lake Lanier.
Welcome to Alien Theorists Theorizing, Case File 236, The Curse of Lake Lanier. I'm Braden.
I'm Zell.
I'm Dan.
And I'm Andrew.
Before we start this case file, I want to let everyone know that I fully have embraced my redneck ways.
Oh no!
I set up an above ground pool.
Oh God! What happened to the chickens? Don't. Not again.
I set up an above ground pool, and then I hooked it up to a wood burning stove. So I got a little heater going. So I was sitting it's like 20 degrees here. It's pretty nice, but the water was really cool. So I wanted to sit in the water. So I was waist deep in the water. And I had, obviously one's the cold intake that goes to the copper coils, heats up the water and pumps up. And then I just had the hot water part down my pants because it was too uncomfortable because it was a little too cold, and made it nice and easy. And I was just lounging in the pool.
Sure beats just peeing in the pool, I guess. Eh?
Oh, way better. Way better than peeing in the pool.
Cool.
Okay, well, good to know.
And yesterday, I chlorinated.
It.
I was like, I've learned something. The testing kits, I was like, why do I need a testing kit? It tells me what to do with the chlorine and stuff. So I shocked the pool, and then I got in, and my skin was all red and itchy, and I was like, oh, that's why I need a testing kit. I was like, oh, okay, I did something wrong.
Not just redneck is what you're saying. Everything from fucking waist down.
Waist down is just beet red.
Yeah, perfect.
Beet red and itchy. But this goes because a lot of people, especially this May long weekend, I bet we're out enjoying Lake Lanier. And I bet they didn't know that this is the deadliest lake in North America.
Right.
Easily.
I don't understand
Chances-
how anybody fucking goes there. Like,
Chances
that blows
are-
my mind.
As of recording this, someone's dying on Lake Lanier. That's how deadly this fucking thing is.
It's it is a fairly unusual lake. It is a it is a man-made lake. It's a reservoir. If you're not familiar with the place, I mean, if you live in Georgia, you have heard of it. It's in the northern portion of the state of Georgia, and it's about an hour north of Atlanta. It's so early here.
How early is it, Dan?
My brain is fried. It's like 5 a.m. right now, and I'm like,
Dan, before 6 a.m., Dan's a normal person.
He's human.
He's human.
Yeah.
I haven't spun up all my hard drives yet. So it was created by the creation of the Buford Dam in order to create a water supply and a stable water supply and also a hydroelectric source for Atlanta.
That makes so much more sense. Because when I was reading, they didn't explain why they made it. So I just pictured some like government official being like, sure, it's hot here in Georgia. Let's make a giant pool.
Let's dam up.
Right? Like, I'm like, why are they doing this?
That was the original premise. Like, so it was built by the Army Corps of Engineers, and it was, I think, the funding came from the Waterways and Harbors Act that was passed by Congress. I kind of think that gets renewed every year to kind of shore up those kinds of places and establish reservoirs and stuff like that. But I didn't know that in the northern part of Georgia, I think there's 40 or 44 lakes or something like that. They're all man-made. None of them are natural there.
Oh, so it's all like a big dam system?
Yeah, it's just they just like dammed up a bunch of rivers and they're just like, okay, so this is whatever. It's the same thing in my home state of Virginia. Like in Virginia, there's no natural lakes. It's all rivers. It's all rivers and stuff like that. If there's a lake in Virginia, like it's man-made.
Dude, that's similar to here.
That's why you guys have fucking haunted lakes and not Okapokos like us. We got the natural shit.
Yeah.
Well, ours are half natural, and like there was kind of a lake there, but we dammed up every valley with hydropower.
And then we drain lakes and put cities in them, and then they flood.
Terrible. Hey guys, know what's a good idea? This giant floodplain? Yeah? We should drain it.
And call it Abbotsford.
Make some awesome farmland. But what about all the water? Oh, we'll keep it out with pumps. What if the power goes out? It won't go out.
We got the dike. What if it breaches the dike? That'll never happen.
It won't happen.
Should you be using that word?
I don't know. That's still a
little aggressive.
But the Buford Dam, that's on the Chattahoochee River.
Chattahoochee River.
Chattahoochee. Now, is that where it gets hotter than a hoochie's coochie?
Yes, it does. According to waterway expert Alan Jackson.
Oh yes. All right. I wasn't sure.
Of rubber was laid on the asphalt.
I thought it sounded familiar.
I was totally going to drop that joke when he talks about the song of the Chattahoochee. I was like, I actually know that song. Yeah. Word for fucking word.
I mean, that's the song that came to my mind when they said the song of Chattahoochee. I did not know that it was a song from like the 18th century or something.
Wait, what?
18th?
Hold on. When you were saying the song of the Chattahoochee, I thought it was the Alan Jackson song.
Well, then it would be called Lake Alan Jackson, not Lake Lanier. All
right. When they built the dam and created the lake, there was a bit of a row up about like what they were going to name the actual lake itself. I think some people wanted to name it. What did they want?
Not after an ex-Confederate soldier. Probably a good idea.
No.
Wonder why it's fucking cursed.
But it ended up being named after 18th century poet Sidney Lanier. I think it's Lanier, but I think that's how you're supposed to say the lake's name, but everybody just says Lanier.
Sounds like the American spin on a French name, yeah.
Yeah, right. It depends on where you're from. But yeah, he wrote the actual song, poem, the Song of the Chattahoochee.
Yeah.
I'm sure Alan Jackson drew his It's inspiration.
Yeah.
Yeah, but this dude used to be a Confederate soldier.
Who? Sidney Lanier?
Yeah, before he was a fucking poet.
So he took
He's a
inspiration
soldier and a
by
poet.
people getting dismembered by musket balls, cannonballs, and bayonets on the battlefield.
Heard he got his ass kicked at the Battle of Shroot Farms, but
Oh, Battle of the Beats.
hell yeah.
So now an interesting part is this. So when the lake was actually built, that valley, the river valley that it sat in, wasn't empty. The government actually had to relocate and offer a lot of locals money for their farmland that they had been there for generations.
Yeah, $30 an acre.
Oh, fucking steal.
Like, fuck.
Yeah, I think the most someone made off selling the land to the actual for them to move is like $45,000.
The guy had a million
money.
acres.
Right.
They literally
And,
paid out $30 an acre. Like, that wasn't a joke.
So what, they buy like 56,000 acres off these people, right? In the end?
Yep. So they displaced about like 700, or at least 700 families sold, a total of 56,000 acres to the government. And so now where this valley, a number of communities used to sit, is now home to Lake Lanier, which contains about, to this day, I think, might be a little bit less, but it's like 625 billion gallons of water.
Woo.
And underneath that water, you still have a lot of the remains. Even though the Army Corps of Engineers, when they were building the lake, they removed a lot of the stuff that they deemed would perhaps like
Hazardous.
could perhaps be hazardous to boats and things that would be crossing on the lake. So they took out a lot of trees. They knocked down a lot of like
wooden buildings and stuff like that. Like, stuff that would basically, when they took a look at the town, they're like, that might float to the surface. Knock it down now.
So underneath the surface of the waters there, you'll have, there are still remains of farms, the homes, there's churches, mills, businesses, like I think there's like a racetrack.
Yeah, there's
on one of them.
there's really cool pictures where in like 2001, they had a massive drought and you could actually see the bleachers from the racetrack through the water.
And then one of the
That's
other
fucking
things,
cool.
Yeah, dude.
and probably one of the most interesting things is that now when you have families living in that valley for generations, naturally you're going to have a place where we got to bury our dead. So there were, I think the total number is 20 cemeteries were relocated along with the graves that had been marked.
So now you're telling me that this is where they get drinking water from?
Yes.
If you're looking for a way,
I never even
to
thought about
haunt
that.
something,
Boys, like, think about that. Remember, see, this is probably Canadian. I don't think Dan will recognize that, but like, you're pulling drinking water out of this. It reminds me of those old like Orbits fucking drinks you used to get, the clearly Canadians with little
I know what
floaties
those
in
are.
them.
Yeah.
Like fucking, you should be, they
Those
should be
those
marketing
appeared
that
briefly
shit.
in the United States.
Lake Lanier zombie water. And then every once in a while you get like a fucking appendage in the bottom of the drink. And you're like, this is fucking worth the prize, bud.
dude, if you're looking for a way to haunt a large area at one time, this is it. Disturbing graves, and then they relocated the ones that were marked, and at that time, all those old homesteads and stuff, people would bury their own dead. The cross would disintegrate. They didn't know where they lost like great grandpa. We don't know where he is. He's somewhere out, back.
Or even if you couldn't read the headstone, if you can't read the headstone, you can't contact the families of this. They admitted, I believe they
To
admitted
leaving
that
graves,
was a problem.
they're just like,
Well, you think about it too, like it's the people who are always like the people who have lived like the hard lives, abandoned people who they don't know, who put in up like unmarked graves. Those are always the ones that come back to haunt you.
Yep.
Right?
100%.
The unnamed fucking ones, for sure. But it was making me think, like, so they created this lake and they use, all right, we need power, we need drinking water, all this. Like,
for the city folk.
Maybe they're trying to hide something under there. They're like, we can't get rid of this. So what can we do? Let's bury it in water.
Flood it.
Flood that shit, son. There's a hell mouth at the bottom of Lake Lanier.
Gate to hell, bottom of Lake Lanier.
Man, right? So they fucking just pile a bunch of water on it.
Hey, we're going to get to it in a bit here, but a lot of people go missing in Lake Lanier.
Listen
It is
and
true.
listen,
A
boys.
lot.
So Lake Lanier is apparently one of, if not the deadliest lake in the United States.
Maybe in the world, like for real.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Like so many people drowned and die in and around this lake. It's insane.
Since its creation, so far, there's been 675 lives lost on that lake.
Right. It was built in 1956. So since that time, you have about, like Andrew said, 700 deaths are recorded to have happened at that lake. And so to kind of put that into perspective, so it's 700 deaths since, mid 1950s.
Yeah, to put that in perspective, 0 people have died in my pool that I just set up on Saturday.
Yeah, it's because no one's been in there with you yet.
Yeah,
Especially when you're going in there all fucking.
You also have a wood ferning fire coil burning about 3 feet from the side of this vinyl pool. So
down
something.
your pants.
About 11 million visitors are recorded to come to there every year. To Lake
Why?
Lanier.
Does no one tell them what this lake's about?
to
It is
die.
a popular thing. And so, but the thing is like, so you have 700 deaths there, 27 of which the victims' bodies have never been recovered. And
that we
then
know of.
there's another lake that's, I guess, similar in size and has about the
Allatoona?
same, Allatoona.
Yeah.
And it's just a little ways from Lake Lanier.
No
and it
one-
has about the same amount of visitors every year, but
No
about
one-
1/3 of the recorded deaths.
That's crazy, man.
Probably a regular amount of deaths for a tourist lake.
Well, it's just regular.
Well, no, I mean,
No, that
I
is.
guess what is the regular number?
We get a few
the
every
average
year in
number?
our lake.
every year.
Right.
Kelowna's like a pretty popular party city, vacation city. People come here from all over Western Canada and they party and they go to the beach and they rent boats and people drown because they're drinking or they're being idiots. It happens, but not like not 100 or 200 a year or something.
Not
but,
even. I would not.
but
work
like a
here.
couple. There's always a few.
I would quit my fucking job if that was.
There's
the case.
always a few, and they're like, this guy was on the beach in waist deep water and he drowned. You're like, how? How did this guy? How?
Yeah, it's a so 11 million visitors come to there right now, which is like the Eiffel Tower has 7 million.
That's
Visitors a
mind-boggling to me.
It's hot Atlanta, boys.
St.
Gotta go
Peter's
for a swim.
Basilica in the Vatican gets 5 million visitors a year, right?
Well,
so it's just like
people are being scared of being touched when you go there, though. You don't want to go there.
Yeah, absolutely. Priorities, boys.
You get careful.
Where are you going to go where you can fucking
Listen,
sit on
you
a
got
boat
a
and
chance
crack
of getting
beers?
you got a chance of getting touched at the lake too. Let's be real, and it's far spookier.
It's ghost hands.
I'd rather get molested by ghost hands than a fucking creepy.
Oh, I don't know. I'd rather see that. I'd rather see the hand coming.
See the burp. See the burp.
Yeah, I'd rather see the perp. Yeah, 100%.
Okay.
So if it's not enough that you have the strange amount of death, like an unusual, remarkable amount of deaths at this place, it has a bit of a spotted history. The land beneath the lake of Lake Lanier. Ooh. So Forsyth County, which sits on the western side,
the land beneath the lake.
Forsyth County, which is on the western side, was actually part of the Cherokee Nation. And so in the 1830s, as we know, the United States government expulsed most of the members of that tribe. And then it's purported that this is one of the southeastern-most origins of the Trail of Tears, which is brutal
people going,
genocide of the indigenous people in America.
People going missing.
So we're creating a lake on an ancient Indian burial ground.
You are just.
I mean, yeah, the
recipe
valley
for
had
disaster
been
here.
Inhabited for hundreds, if not thousands of years. And then another more intense period of the land was during the early 1900s. And about 1912, you had about 1,100 African Americans who owned land and operated businesses in Forsyth County. On September 9th of that year, an 18-year-old white woman named May Crow was reportedly raped and murdered close to the banks of the Chattahoochee River there. And it was in a village that is in that
Racist
valley
place in the
called
world.
Oscarville. I mean...
That's what they call it this. We're not saying
right.
It's been said.
Yeah. Yeah, if most people are familiar with the post Civil War South, like anything after that is just like it is a
Awful place.
it is a very terrible place, and so they had this. The immediate reaction was to pin the crime on 4 young African American who had happened to just live nearby. So there's an entire kind of case that I don't know. They had an entire thing.
Basically, wrong place, wrong race, and they find these fucking guys, and it's just so insanely awful.
Murdered.
Yeah, it is. It is a very it's a very intense case, and it's very a lot of. There's a lot of. Maybe not too many, but there's a lot of angles to it. And then you have at least one of the men who was who's arrested for suspicion of actually having this crime. It's Robert Big Rob Edwards. So
Big Rob.
He was arrested and put in jail by the local authorities, and they actually had a mob invade the jail and drag him out before trial, before anything.
Literally, they coerced him into admitting guilt, is what I heard, right? And we know that happens on a regular basis. People get coerced all the fucking time.
We're gonna kill you if you don't.
And then that night, the sheriff was not in the office. He put the deputy to watch him, and the deputy that was watching him was the guy that was running against the sheriff in the next election.
Oh. Yeah, I read that. Like they said, if you admit to this crime, we know you did it. You won't be lynched. You just go to jail. It's like that's your option here. And and then
I mean, false confessions.
The lie
happen all the
detector
time
test
under
determined
duress.
that was a lie.
that was a lie.
So mob justice took hold at this point, and you had them actually, one of the most brutal ways to
trigger warning for sure.
Trigger warning.
to execute a person. They had him apparently dragged outside of the courthouse, and then what is it? They dragged him through the streets, hung him from a telephone pole, and then shot him.
Target practiced him
multiple times
After he was dead.
After he was dead. So now, if that wasn't enough to kind of, I guess you could say, infuse the land here with the kind of energy that you would that would produce something.
You think about what you've created. You've created a giant racist, murderous soup, basically.
Mm-hmm.
It's just giant murder soup. And are you surprised that fucking terrible shit's popping out of this thing and happening here? Like, come on.
And so not only did you have this occurring, you had groups of kind of roaming racist mobs come through and actually intimidate most of the black families that live there in Forsyth County, and basically demanding that they all leave. So these people were harassed, and eventually like 1,100 of those, like 1,000 things. I think, what is it? It was like 10% of the total population was African American at the time. And then now it's like 4%.
Like
they all left.
Most of them left.
So maybe they
abandoned everything. They because I mean these mobs that were going around were like burning down everything, black churches, businesses.
Maybe they flooded this thing they flooded this place out of embarrassment. Let's fucking get rid of this shithole where all this awful shit's happened.
I mean, it worked for Noah.
Yeah, seriously, like fuck.
So yeah, you had all these families who had been living there. Most of them had deep ties to the land. Like the African Americans that were living there most of them were like recently released slaves. Like they had just recently been released from slavery and had taken the land for themselves. And then, after they left, you had the white people who were left basically just picked over and pillaged everything that was left behind by these families.
It's like they burned the churches and some of the businesses, but they left the crops and the farmhouses and anything of the value, and they just kind of like
just went and took it over.
Swooped in and took it over, yeah.
Yeah. And then they were mad because the government bought it for cheap. It's like
So you have all of this kind of perfect recipe for kind of a haunting. Like I think the deep history of Lake Lanier has brought out this something.
Well, and then that's like, so it's like you have like terrible, terrible event that's just fueled by like an unbelievable amount of hate. It's terrible. But then, like, you know, still too, like one of the things we didn't touch on is when the government bought the land from these people and like just basically forced them out, a lot of the land they were given afterwards was not like they weren't able to grow crops. It wasn't good land. They weren't able to sustain themselves like they had been in the past. So that just kind of pushed like another group of people afterwards, like into hardship and hard times where they were like, they're like, God damn it. Like they ruined our lives,
They
right?
fucked
It's like,
us.
you just have this like, this little, like honestly, like a cesspool of hate, right? It's crazy of this like nonstop, everything to do with this, like this lake coming to fruition is just like built on hate, layers of hate. It's crazy.
Yeah, and I think one of the reasons that they actually picked this specific location, or at least these towns that sat there, like Oscarville and Forsyth County, the reason that the government kind of specifically targeted these communities, because when they were doing these projects, because not Lake Lanier was part of a bigger effort, they specifically looked for towns that were dead or dying, communities that were already kind of seeing a downcline in decline in population, economic status, those kinds of places, which is like you could do there's probably a whole bunch, but there's a whole bunch of podcasts about that, about just towns dying. I mean, it's happening now, but it still happens. But that was one of the reasons behind why they chose this area to establish the reservoir and the dam. So now you have a, what had been at one point, it was a thriving place. Like it was a thriving place, and it had families and it had a history and all of these things. And now following up that, like Braden said, you have the history of hate. You have the probably the frustrations of people living in a town that is dying. And then you cover it over with water, thinking that's going to take care of everything, and that you're providing the
disturbed graves on top of that.
Yeah.
The unmarked graves now, like, this person's resting in peace, and also now they're drowning in their afterlife. Like there's a lot of shit going on here.
And so following up on that, you can pile on another legend. Now, one of the legends that gives Lake Lanier its title of probably a lot of people would say like the most haunted lake, at least in Georgia, if not the United States, is you have a certain case in 1958 where he had two friends, one by the name of Delia Mae Parker Young, and then the other Susie Roberts, apparently had departed a dance in the evening. And after getting gas and apparently skipping out on paying for it, their car skidded off a bridge and while crossing over the lake.
I feel that.
Are we sure that it skidded? They just didn't full on Thelma and Louise after the big gas theft that they pulled off?
Oh, that's right. They said they did fill up with gas and then didn't pay.
Took off.
But back then, gas was what, like 4 cents a liter? That's how much they really stealing there? Was it a huge crime?
So now, after they skidded off, they disappeared. They couldn't find the car. They couldn't find the remains of the two women for at least a year. So the next year, you had a fisherman who came across a decomposed and unidentifiable body that was floating near one of the bridges.
Oh.
And one of the remarkable things about the corpse was that it was missing both hands and 2 toes, and they couldn't identify it as either Susie or Delia, who had disappeared the year before.
2 hands and 2 toes.
Both hands gone. Now, it wasn't until 1990.
Swamp ape? Ate her hands and feet? That's primates
right.
do that, right?
Yeah, they go for the outer appendages, also nose and ears.
Interesting.
So it wasn't until actually
That's why you always check your back seat. You never know there's going to be a fucking swamp ape back there.
Always check.
Eating your hands and feet.
Yeah.
Like, come on.
And it wasn't until 1990 that they had an actual kind of breakthrough in the case where officials actually discovered a 1950s Ford sedan with the remains, which they identified as Susie Roberts. Now, they figures that meant that the body that was found back in 1959 must have belonged to Delia Mae Parker Young. And they knew that the woman in the car had been Susie, because Susie had been wearing a blue dress the night of the accident. And since the crash, multiple people had reported seeing a lost woman with a blue dress pacing around the area.
Terrifying.
Oh, shit. That's interesting.
Now-
I wonder if she was pacing around there to like try and let them know that her friend was still down there.
Wait, so it's almost 30 years till they found that body?
Yeah.
That's
Until they found the car. They couldn't find the car for 30 years.
Now that's a little mind-boggling. I mean, I could see a body like being like taken by the like undercurrent, but the car, like, it's so heavy, you think it would just sink to the bottom and just kind of sit there.
Well, you think you'd be able to find it if it's like right near the bridge? I guess. I mean,
Yeah, it could like I guess when a car hits water, like it's got a bunch of air, so it can float and kind of like slowly sink up. But
That's
like,
true.
It couldn't go too like you wouldn't think it could go that far from the bridge. In my mind, I'd be like, all right, you got this car, like an old car, like probably like steel, like still steel body, super heavy,
all steel, yeah.
right?
Fuck yeah.
So it hits in. Even if the windows are up, it's got a bunch of air in. It's gonna slowly fill up and sink. And then once it's got no air left, it's gonna fucking drop like a rock.
Yeah.
So you think like it takes like 3 decades to find the car.
and it's like, not only do you have these, I mean, you could possibly have a number of abandoned cars and things like this that people who have probably disappeared off the face of the earth while falling into the river. So something else a little bit spooky is they had in November 10th of last year, you had what was titled a ghost boat was pulled from the actual lake itself. So this houseboat had kind of it had garnered the name the Chestatee Ghost Boat. So people knew about it, and it was this derelict houseboat that no one knew who the owner was, and it had no signs of being occupied for decades. It was just like the pictures that I saw were just this abandoned houseboat just sitting on the shore there. But people who had reportedly seen observed this houseboat, some people like thought it was still inhabited, like because they still had there was furniture on the top. There was it looked like people said sometimes there was light coming from out inside of it.
Oh, that's fucking
So-
creepy as fuck.
Really creepy.
But the funny thing is that you could almost say that there's almost an admission that there's something within the lake that the official record kind of shows that something is happening in the lake, because the official news release, they called it an exorcism. Like
What?
they didn't shy away from the reputation
weird.
for the lake being haunted. Now, whether they were being tongue in cheek or not is, they might just kind of be playing it up, but who knows? You had director Jennifer Flowers, who said in a release is that now that the Chestatee Ghost Boat is in the landfill, we have removed any ghosts that were rumored to have inhabited Lake Lanier. Everyone can now rest easy.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, how do they know that?
Yeah. That's
Absolutely.
a bold
claim.
But yeah, they said that boat had actually been there for almost like 2 decades, and that it's just sitting there. I guess it was they said it was kind of in a difficult place for them to remove it. It was one of those it was like a little kind of outlet, little like inlet off to the side that was kind of shallow, and they weren't able to get the equipment in that they needed to actually remove it, but they ended up kind of doing it. I guess they deemed it enough of a safety hazard for this for them to dedicate the resources to taking it down.
Drag it out of the water.
And
Well,
then
we have that too, don't we?
exercise
Like
it.
we've got a few of those houseboats just sitting there like half sunk.
Yeah.
Oh,
well,
for
there's
sure.
And
we had a houseboat death a while, like quite a
Used to
few
be-
years ago on Okanagan.
yeah, it flipped, right?
Yeah.
Somebody was trapped in the bathroom or something.
It was over capacity by quite a few people, many people on the top deck, which threw the balance of the boat way out, and then everyone like partying and jumping and rocking back and forth, and it was kind of a windy day, and then it flipped, and someone unfortunately drowned in the bathroom. But yeah, there's I mean, Okanagan Lake's no stranger to capsized vessels, and they just sink. And they're like our lake. I don't know about this lake because this is a flooded lake, where Okanagan Lake was a actual lake before. It's just a little bit bigger now. Our lake's like like a really dense sediment. So when stuff sinks to the bottom, it gets like absorbed into the mud, and then they just leave it there, I think, for the most part. But
so yeah, and so when they originally flooded the valley, the Army Corps of Engineers pretty much kind of made sure to put forth a point that's like none of this stuff is going to cause a danger to anyone. That we knock down the possible places that could cause trouble for boaters or anything out there, but they apparently didn't anticipate for the water levels to drop as precipitously as they have in the last couple of decades or years or so. So now you have a lot of people kind of they'll rack up some of the mysterious deaths to being people hitting some of these structures like trees and buildings and things, because in some areas of the lake, like that stuff is coming back up to the surface. And then once you get, some people saying, remarking about how if you go down into the lake, it's just chock full of debris. And, you have these old structures and things like that, you could be jet skiing and then all of a sudden you smack into the roof of like an old house or something. And then you're just like gone.
Yeah. Or church.
Yeah.
right.
I was reading like apparently when they initially flooded it, like for trees, as long as the tree was 35 feet under the surface, they'd leave it. They wouldn't chop it down.
Which seems reasonable at the time.
Yeah. There's stuff that, so it's things that were over like a certain height. They were like, we need to take these ones down because these could possibly pose a danger to people in the future using the lake for the lake. And the lake was never meant to be used for recreation.
Yeah,
and now
that's true too.
It was never meant to be used this way. And nobody's stopping anyone now. It's just like, it's 11 million
now
visitors.
more people are using it than the fucking Eiffel Tower.
Well, yeah, you think about though, like in 56, but like there's no like surf boats, wakeboard boats, ski boats.
You want to go for a swim or a canoe, or I'll fuck off. There's nothing else to do, pal.
There's like none of that back then. So you're like, yeah, no, like maybe people are fishing, they're gonna snag their line. That's what you're thinking. Like we're gonna.
They did populate the lake with fish, didn't they? I remember.
I'm sure they would just for support that ecosystem. They would stock it, but yeah, you're not thinking about like, we're gonna be wakeboarding and tournament boats and like water skiing, and they probably have like fucking hydroplanes and who knows what else is on there.
There's a couple fucking they skipped some steps though. I was reading like they fucking sank a bunch of like ferries and shit down there and just left them.
Well, you can only imagine on an area that big, and we're talking about like it's government funded, so like they have a set amount of resources maybe, and they're like,
okay, they got a couple lazy pricks like me and Braden working in one section.
100%.
They're not gonna.
Hey, did you guys take that those trees down in quadrant 7? Yeah.
They're fucking gone.
They're gone, man. And then next thing you know, 50 years later, the lake's 20 feet shallower, and someone's boating along. Prop hits it, flips it.
What a fucking... Do you imagine the people who did like 23andMe and found out they had family members from this area, and they're like, oh, fuck, like, I guess I'm gonna have to go scuba dive to visit my great-great-grandpa's grave here.
Yeah, right?
Like, it's fucking brutal.
No idea where you guys...
I don't know how you guys do it. I forget the term for it, but like me, I don't know why. It's super irrational, but I'm like, submerged shit under the water freaks me out. I couldn't watch the whole, like James Cameron, when he went in and showed you like the sunken Titanic, I can't watch it. Ooh, gives me the heebie-jeebies like a motherfucker.
Well,
so being able to see that kind of shit would freak
normally
me the fuck
it's
out.
fine, but like honestly, it's not that bad. But like the thing about this lake is it's like murky as fuck when you get down there. It's not a lot of visibility, and there is an unbelievable amount of reports of people being like, you feel fucking limbs touch you.
Oh my God. I feel seaweed and I'm like, that was a person.
Yeah. And I'm like, that is terrifying. And it's not like it's a one-off. Like lots of people report be like, man, I hate going down because you just feel like you're feeling limbs, like stiff limbs.
Yeah. And that's just before we get more into that, we're going to grab a beer, take a short break, and we're going to go back with a little bit of diving in the waters in this lake and the old ghost hand. I feel like it fucking scrapes across your lenses there. All right. We'll be right back.
The comfort of your favorite seat is now your comfy car selling command center, thanks to Carvana.
It doesn't get any better than this.
Your favorite seat's the best spot in the house. Make it even better by entering your license plate or VIN and getting a real offer in minutes.
There really is no place like home.
And speaking of home, Carvana will pick up your car from yours after you finalize your offer. Visit Carvana.com or download the app and sell your car from your comfy place. That's not just the sound of that first sip of Morning Joe. It's the sound of someone shopping for a car on Carvana from the comfort of home.
That's a good blend.
It's time to take it easy, like answering some easy questions to get pre-qualified for a car in minutes.
Talk about starting the morning right.
Just like customizing your terms so your car fits your budget. Visit Carvana.com or download the app to experience car shopping the way it should be. Convenient, comfortable.
We're back.
What truly lies beneath the surface of Lake Lanier? You'd have to ask Buck Buchanan, who's apparently been diving the waters who's been diving the waters for decades, he says. And so in an interview with WGCL TV in October of 2017, they were talking about the rumors and the legends that surround Lake Lanier. And he was saying that there might be something to this because it is he's quoted as saying, you reach out into the dark and you feel an arm or a leg and it doesn't move. And that's creepy.
What?
It's terrifying.
Awful.
So you're just diving and there's just random limbs floating around.
Well, like Brayden said, it is most of the parts of the lake are low visibility. Like there's nothing there. And I mean, if you're diving down there and I don't like to go swimming in water where I can't see the bottom. Like, even if I can feel the bottom with my toes. Like, I don't like to go swimming in the water that you can't see the fucking bottom.
You're not freaking. You're not swimming here.
That's 100%. That's where bodies are.
You're not swimming here in Kelowna because you can't see the bottom and it's full of seaweed.
Ugh.
Yeah, I'm hanging out at the it's like fucking shallow end, boys.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm fine with
in the sand.
If I can't
I can see my feet.
If I can't crocodile around the water at the edge of the beach, I'm out.
You're out.
Yep. Or I get a floaty. One of the two.
So even some of the historians like David Coughlin, who's a historian for Lake Lanier, believes that most of the folklore that's surrounding the lake being haunted is linked directly to the stories of them disturbing these graves. And it's like, if you didn't, I mean, everybody's seen fucking Poltergeist. Like,
yeah.
You move the graves, you're 100% getting a haunting. Like that's the way it goes. We don't make the rules. That's just how it happens. But so I think there are about 5 things that it could possibly be. You probably have about 5 possible options about what's beneath the surface of Lake Lanier.
What lies beneath?
So number 1, ghosts.
It's the
most likely suspect.
It's a no-brainer in this situation.
Ghost water.
All those graves and shit.
Yeah, 100%. You have, and when I was kind of thinking about this, it's like you have all this hate bred, potential bodies that, their grave sites were they were drowned, desecrated, their family land taken away. It could breed this kind of like hatred where there could be a ghost. And I kind of was thinking of like movies I've seen and stuff. I was like, maybe it's like not a bunch of ghosts, but there's like a couple that are really upset. And you remember you see those movies where it's like, there'll be a nice ghost and he's like, I can't leave because this motherfucker is holding us all captive. Right? Like, I want to leave. I want to leave the lake. He won't let us. This crazy guy.
Yeah. So there's reports of hauntings that work that way where you have it's the same thing in Poltergeist, but you have like you have an overarching negative energy, some kind of negative energy entity that kind of holds on to the rest, that keeps the rest there against their will, I guess you could say. And it could be a situation like that. Now, the situation we described with the lynching, the whole Oscarville incident, you could say that maybe
that's just the stuff that we know about. You know?
Right.
Those people have been living there for decades, like next to each other, African American and
how many
and
people
white
have they murdered that didn't get written down?
And honestly, too, like as far as hauntings go and ghosts, like there's recent stories, like crazy, weird murders and shit like that have happened on this lake as well. And I got a bunch of examples of that too. So it's not just the shit from the past; it's still happening.
Still happening.
Oh, I wanted to tell you guys too. This lake is where they shoot the show Ozarks. So if you've watched Ozarks, they shoot on this lake.
Oh, they don't even shoot Ozarks in the Ozarks.
No, they shoot it on Lake Lanier.
Okay.
Okay, is this show called Ozarks or Ozark?
It's called Ozark, but the Ozarks, I think, is like a series of lakes, if I'm not wrong.
All right, because every time I hear someone say Ozarks, I just want to fucking punch myself in the face.
The show is called
It's like when
Ozark. You're not wrong.
I used to play for the Okanagan Sun, and everybody like, oh, you play for the Okanagan Suns?
You're
Nope,
a
just,
sun.
There's just one, just Okanagan Sun.
There's only one sun in the
There's no
sky.
suns. You know?
Unless you go with the new flat Earth model, there's actually multiple suns. The model's evolved.
At least they're trying to figure it out.
We'll talk about it in after hours. Actually, it's pretty fun.
But like, do you want to go through a few of these like weird murders that have been on?
I
here?
100% do.
Yeah.
Have you guys ever heard of Kelly Nash?
Nope.
So Kelly Nash was a 25-year-old architectural student, and he worked for his father's construction company. He lived
Kelly Nash.
Kelly Nash.
Yeah. K-Nash. K-Nash.
Well, no, it's actually a pretty it's a pretty prominent cold case, like unsolved murder story.
Okay.
Oh,
Because it's super bizarre. Like, this is something we could probably do a case file on.
Should we skip this then, just in case?
No, I want to hear it now.
We're just going to do a quick look.
Give us the broad strokes.
Hey, earmuffs, Dan.
Yeah, Dan.
No, it's super mild. Dan's already talked about way worse shit than this today.
Okay.
So Kelly and his girlfriend had been living in this house for about 3 years. And the house was about 2.5 miles from their father's house, which was apparently like right on Lake Lanier.
Yeah.
So I guess late in the evening, Kelly kind of started having some cough, cold, flu symptoms, feeling unwell. Went to the drugstore. He was caught on CCTV footage, going to the drugstore, purchasing stuff, came home, kind of told Jessica that he wasn't feeling good. He didn't want to keep her up at night. So he went and slept on the couch. So he was witnessed staying up, playing Xbox, whatever, by Jessica a few different times. And last time she noticed was around 3:30 in the morning that he was still up playing video games. So she woke up a little later in the night and he was gone, kind of bizarre, looking around the house for him. Couldn't find him, noticed that he left his wallet, his cell phone, and his car keys in the house, but he was no longer there. Called his phone, no answers, nothing. Kelly's reported missing. Nobody can find him. They toss the house, look around for clues, that type of shit. And the only thing that they find is that he was missing his revolver. So then not too long later, they end up finding his body in Lake Lanier with a gunshot wound to the head. So a lot of people can kind of speculate that this is a suicide, right? Because it sounds like there's a lot of things that are congruent with a suicide as far as like leaving your wallet and your keys, like showing that you don't have a plan,
right?
Going forward, right? But there was no suicide note or anything like that. And like this is completely out of the blue, according to the families. No words of depression, anything like that. So super bizarre situation, like almost like the lake just was calling to him.
Or he was playing Modern Warfare 2.
Got lost in the game.
I've been there.
In real life?
No, you're just like,
I got shit cocked by some fucking 12-year-olds.
I can't fucking take this shit anymore. I can't.
I'm done.
Right? I'm so bad. That's it.
There are reports, or I guess it's kind of local legend, that people who have experienced something pulling them from the lake, or that they believe that somebody they saw something like come out of the water and pull people down. Some of the disappearances can be characterized that way, where you have something reaching out from the depths to kind of pull you down.
That'd be the worst, absolute worst feeling.
I'll be honest with you though, and especially with people who they've obviously survived the situation to tell you, but like I've been present for a lot of fucking post drownings and people who have survived. And that's a very common occurrence where they say it felt like something was pulling me down in the water. Like I felt something pulling me. So it sounds like that is kind of like a symptom of drowning, like you feel like something's pulling you down.
You just can't get away.
And then there's also Hannah Truelove, who was a 16-year-old female who was murdered on August 23rd, 2012. Her body was found right along Lake Lanier with like, I don't know, I can't find, I had it written down somewhere, but like an insane amount of stab wounds.
Just repetitive stab wounds.
Yeah, and no witnesses, anything like that. And it was bizarre that because her Twitter feed is still active. And on her Twitter, she's tweeting being like, I feel like somebody's stalking me. Somebody's been watching me. Somebody's been fucking following me to school and that type of shit. And that one's still unsolved. Nobody knows what's happened there. And then there's a fisherman named Jason Millen who was out in his boat when he saw something shiny in the bottom of the water. Reported it, and it was a silver van.
Oh shit!
At the bottom of the lake with a body inside of it. And so kind of, in a van down in the river. Down instead of by the river. But and oddly enough, the guy's name was Van. That was in the van.
Van saw a van.
No, Van was in the van and died.
Van was in the van.
Van was in the van. So this guy's seen the van with Van inside of it. And it happened to be on one of the days that the lake was actually clear and they could actually see more than 4 feet through the water or something.
Yeah, and like other stuff like I guess Usher's stepson died on Lake Lanier. He was hit by a jet skier, which is kind of a normal occurrence on lakes, unfortunately.
Jet skiers are fucking out of control sometimes.
Dude, I did one. It was horrible. This girl got hit by her friend on a Sea-Doo, and I guess like somehow she got ran over and her intestines got all caught up. And dude, it was horrible.
Dude, those Sea-Doos, because they can turn on like such a dime. And like you get 3 or 4 people renting them at the same time, and they're like, "Oh, don't go past that flag out there, so you don't have a lot of space." And people are like, "Go!" Like, fuck, they'll turn and they'll turn and just punch it, and then some guy turns just in front of it, and bang, they smack. Yeah, they're super fun, but man, they could, yeah.
And then just recently, they had like a fucking boat with a family on it spontaneously combust, just blow up.
The whole boat just blew up,
putting the whole family in the ICU. Several, I think they might still be sedated because of the burn injuries, and like killed their dog. Awful. But like just bad shit happens on this lake, boys.
Yeah, it is cursed. It does sound cursed. From those events alone, I'm like,
it should be Lake Lanier Death. That's what it should be called.
Lanier Death.
Yeah, Lake Lanier Death. That's it.
You're going to Linear Death.
Yeah.
Nope.
So you've got ghosts, number one. Second option that possibly could be a cause. Lake zombies.
I dig that.
If you got enough dead bodies down there, animated by some kind of negative energy, seen how this works. Lake zombies.
There you have
because I would go with lake zombies because people are experiencing physical things.
They're touching them. They're touching limbs.
They're touching.
They're reporting people seeing stuff, dragging people down.
Water slows down decomposition. For how many years? Not as many years as those people have died down there, but still.
Right? But if they're not technically quite fully dead, they're undead. Zombie.
But here's the thing. They're taking new bodies every year, right? Refreshing. That's why there's such a high.
It's persistent.
Yeah.
Right.
What's it like?
Just re-upping.
Yeah.
Because how many people do we know die a year? Have we looked at the math?
Like a million, probably.
50,
at least.
It's been it's been like 60 years, and there's been 700 people. So you're at least 10 plus people a year drowning or dying in mysterious circumstances under the water.
That we know of.
That are reported, fully reported. Yes, we have like a traveling zombie curse.
There's just zombies like wandering around the bottom of the lake because we all know zombies sink.
Well,
we can't swim.
Hey, well, we talked about like the negative energies there. Like this was a very like racist place, and there was a lot of unnecessary death and targeting of certain people. Like that would just in the afterlife, I could just that the negative energies there. Like so that's already there, and then let's say there's unmarked graves that have been flooded. Like there's a recipe of just a super haunting here is what I'm seeing.
100%.
Like there's nothing good going on here.
It scares me too though, because like, boys, Okanagan Lake is probably the most deadly lake in BC. I'd fucking bet on it.
Yeah, I would not bet against that. No.
Yeah, I would bet on it. Because when I'm doing the math, I'm like, in my career, I swear, like for the amount of time, I haven't been working in Kelowna consistently my entire career, but I am personally saying 2 to 3 deaths a year.
I would say, but also I think if I was just going to speculate of what I've heard, Many of them are under the influence of alcohol.
Yeah, alcohol.
Oh shit, yeah.
And-
yeah. Oh, absolutely.
No, like in BC too, they're actively doing this right now. There's a Site C dam going up in northern BC, and they're basically
Huge flood.
and they're
stop.
flooding the towns. Like the town of Hudson's Hope is going to be underwater, and this was like prestigious farmland and a community that's been around for.
Do you want
for
lake zombies?
Years.
This is how you get
So
lake
it's like,
zombies.
Oh, you're going to be getting prospector ghosts for sure.
100%. Right?
Stinky Pete, the prospecting ghost, is going to be attacking everybody.
Yeah, I hope you guys don't have a lot of fog in your area.
I don't know about Site C, but like I don't know all the details, but I'm pretty sure it's the biggest dam to ever be built in BC. Like it's a hydro mega project. It's gonna enough. Like in an age where we're switching to hopefully renewable energy, I can see why they want it, but at the same time, the environmental and like all the other impacts, like and zombie ghosts and lake zombies and everything else we're talking about. I don't know. I don't know here. I don't know.
So your third pick for a possible explanation for some of the disappearances, we already mentioned it, but swamp ape. Georgia, the southern United States, like those areas,
That's
well known.
That's a swamp
for
ape.
swamp ape environment.
The only thing for like saying swamp ape for me is that like only really like one of the stories we've heard lines up with swamp ape. Because I don't want to say swamp ape's racist, and a lot of the stuff we talk about in this Lake Lanier's a lot to do with racism back in the day. But the only thing is like the girl who is missing her hands, right? And it's like and part of her toes, and then it's like they couldn't identify her. And then I was like, was she missing part of her bottom jaw? Was her,
More ape-like injuries.
like yeah,
her face
exactly,
off.
right? And it's it's
Well, I like there are some
there's
reports.
chimps in the swamp. We know that. There's chimps in the swamp.
They did only get to they identified her through dental records, I believe, right?
I don't know, actually.
I feel like that's the only way.
Well,
they were able to-
that would be the best way. Isn't that not the best way to identify someone who's not physically recognizable? I guess unless you had like
That's
their
what-
DNA sequenced before and then after they died, but
I have no idea. But it sounds smart because I hear them talking about it all the time.
I sound like because your teeth don't really decompose, right?
No, they don't.
They don't like they're
I don't think
enamel
they decompose at all. Yeah, I don't. Teeth don't.
because that's always the
decompose.
one thing we find when we find those like super old hominid species. Like they're like, oh, we found a molar. The rest of the body's not there, but we got a molar and it looks really big.
Ladies and gentlemen, we got a molar.
Well, I'm saying that there are some reports that swamp apes are they're like semi-aquatic predators. So it's like they'll be swimming underneath the water somehow, moving beneath the weight. I'm talking about like they'll be pulling people down under the water.
Oh.
You're just thinking you're zooming around on your ski to and boom, swamp ape jumps out, clotheslined you off the top of there, and boom, pulls
gone.
you under the water. You're gone
Eats
forever.
your hands and feet. Fuck
Eats
that.
your hands and
Well, you
feet.
can't swim without your hands and feet. You're fucked.
You're done.
Yeah.
Just sink.
Well, then how are these zombies grabbing onto people then? That's what I
Well, they're
I
not
mean,
really grabbing. Like people are grabbing them, right? They're just,
What Dan's
There
saying.
is-
What Dan's saying. There's not zombies. They're swamp apes. They're all their appendages.
Oh, okay. Yes,
Right.
that's right. Yeah.
So you have the swamp apes. Like Georgia is no stranger to Bigfoot sightings. I mean, you had I had a video from last year I pulled up, and like it's one of the better Bigfoot videos I've seen. Like just last year, and someone cited these things there. So it's like this is perhaps a thing. I mean, we've talked about how our friend of the show, David Polides.
Oh yeah.
yeah.
Close friend.
Don't
Close
go in the
friend.
woods alone.
Don't ask him about us though. He won't. Talk about it.
He won't admit it though, but he knows.
He's always implied that there's some kind of
Friendship between us.
or perhaps.
Oh, wait,
yeah.
sorry. What are you talking about?
No. Perhaps there's some kind of supernatural predator out there that's taking this stuff down.
He never actually says it, but he definitely implies it.
But definitely implies it that there's something out there.
He says something's taking people in the woods. Do not travel alone in the woods.
Right. Don't travel alone in the woods near large bodies of water. And what are people doing here? Large body of water.
Exactly that.
I mean, come on. There's probably large rocks somewhere under the water, probably.
Yeah, boulders.
And so you've got your swamp apes, we've got lake zombies, we've got ghosts. The next one, a little bit more mundane, but probably something that I think goes hand in hand with a lot of reservoir situations and dam buildings. Evil catfish. Evil, oversized catfish.
Those things can get huge.
That sounds worse.
They are terrifying. I mean, if anybody's seen, if anybody's seen.
What's the biggest catfish can get?
It depends on which
Dude,
ones you're
I want to
talking
say
about.
like 8 feet, like hundreds of pounds, like huge.
If you're talking about like the Mekong River catfish,
9
like those
feet
catfish can
and
fucking
646 pounds.
There you go.
Because they just
So,
sit
like,
down there
what if-
in those
what if
reservoirs. They
just
just sit
grab
down in the
you?
reservoir and they just
Dude,
eat at the bottom. Everything that comes down there. They
Have you ever
fucking-
sprinkled?
ugh.
Have you ever sprinkled bread on top of one and they all just fucking go crazy? But what if one just grabbed like a 9-foot one, just grabbed half your body, pulled you under, you drowned?
Well, dude, they're eating people down there. Decayed bodies, people who've drowned. They're eating
got
them.
a
They're gonna be
taste
super
for man.
catfishes. Yeah.
Man eaters, yep.
Fucking mad-eating catfish. Want nothing to do with them.
I mean, that is a possible explanation that you have these huge catfish. I mean, there's at least a number of catfish related deaths every year in the United States. I mean, from other.
That would make sense to me in the fact that like they're eating the decomposing bodies, but they don't have teeth and they're not so much predatory. So like the big grabbing people off the surface.
But they are extremely aggressive when you get.
Haven't you seen those guys that stick their arms in there and they just
Noodling.
latch onto the arm?
It's called noodling. They do it on purpose.
Yeah.
That's how they catch them.
I thought noodling's when you fucking shred on the guitar.
Well, that is an ad-libbed riff. It could be called noodling, but I think they call it noodling when you like have like a bait in your hand and the fucking catfish like sucks onto your hand and you grab the inside of their jaw and you like pull them up.
That's so
Right,
fucked up.
catfish are they a lot of times they'll put their dens or like their burrows on the sides of rivers, and they're extremely territorial and protective of these nests that they have. So you kind of you kind of put your hand down in there, kind of antagonize them a bit, and they'll watch out. But people get pulled under the water all the time.
That's what I mean though. At the same time, so you're noodling for catfish. It could be like a 50-pound catfish. You can grab it and pull it out. But if it's a 600-pound catfish,
You're gone.
you're toast. You're just getting
Fucking
sucked under.
Dunzo. Serves you right, you noodling son of a bitch.
So probably your final option that I would say is probably giant alligators. Maybe we've got a Lake Placid situation on our hands.
Oh, like someone released one?
And it's not that far away from reality, since in 2016 they found an actual alligator on the north end of Lake Lanier. Like they found an actual. It was only 2 to 3 feet long, but that was actually the second alligator that they had found there.
It doesn't surprise me at all because people have stupid pets, especially in the States. Like, look at the Everglades and all the fucking snakes that they've left. Like, just guys like, I don't want this stupid anaconda anymore, and just toss it in the Everglades. Just like, fuck.
Giant snake, like, it's only 4 feet long. Like, it's getting too big. You throw it away, and then it ends up being a 25-foot
this
snake.
python is not what I thought it was going to be. It doesn't love me. Like, of course, it doesn't love you. It's a snake.
Well, how far is Atlanta from like gator country? Are we talking like?
I mean, the gators range all the way up to North Carolina. I think North or South Carolina, so like one state up. Like it's not unusual to have alligators. In Georgia?
Didn't they just find a Nile crocodile somewhere it should not have been whatsoever?
Like in the Everglades or something?
I need to look that up. I just read about it, and there's like this Nile crocodile has no business being here, and those fuckers are dinosaurs.
That
like the Nile and the saltwater crocodile of Australia are like monsters, like 18 feet, like 2,000 plus pounds. Like just
even like just alligators here, like North American alligators get
huge.
You can get to 8 to 10 feet long, and like they don't fuck around.
They're finding them in South Florida right now. They're finding Nile crocodiles in South Florida.
Oh, we're
in South
fucked.
Florida. Like we're fucking dead between them and the fucking octopuses.
Toast.
Fucked.
Fucking
We're done.
toast.
Fuck's sake.
Brady,
Yeah,
what'd you find?
Again,
You find something?
that's why you don't go swimming in water. And
It's terrifying. I'm just thinking you're swimming and then an alligator or crocodile grabs your fucking hand and does a death roll like in the
Toast.
water. You're done.
Well, your hands gone.
like not even that. It's like, so you could possibly have a situation where it's just like these people get knocked off your sea-doo, your boat, whatever, your you're water skiing, you just like clip the top of some submerged structure or tree that it was a little bit too tall, that the level of the water has started to kind of get too shallow. You hit one of those, you're knocked out for like a couple, you're knocked out for like a little bit, or you're immobilized, and boom, alligator's like, opportunity. It's possibility. Giant, Lake Placid, Betty White.
Yeah.
Well, I'm on Google Maps right now following was it Chattahoochee River?
Yeah.
Man, it goes and it goes and it goes, man. So the chance of a croc or an alligator getting up. Now I'm right, because I followed down to West Point Lake, which is, oh man, yeah, I think that's well within alligator country. So the chance of it swimming up, because they found other like sharks and shit that swim way up rivers, even though there's no way the shark should live there, and there's like a bull shark like 1,000 miles up the river, and they catch it and it's 10-foot bull shark, and you're like, how is this here? So I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility that a alligator could at least get there.
Yeah, be fucking someone up.
I mean, the longer the river is, the more chance you have of people just releasing, pet alligators.
Just more shit
into the. It's just like more people could just be like, well, it can survive out there. And it's just like, all right, like there are phone numbers you can call to get people to pick up your alligator. It's not like you have to dump it in.
Or don't get a pet
river.
fucking alligator.
Who needs
don't
a pet
alligator?
Yeah, also that too. I guess
there's
that's an
plenty
option.
of fucking dags at the SPCA. Go get a kitty.
You know how many dags you can go adopt right now?
Honestly, fucking dags everywhere.
And they're great.
I got 2 kitties. You come grab them right now.
And they don't.
Adopt, don't shop, people.
And the dags stop, around, between 50 and 100 pounds. So usually they don't get up to like a 1,500 pound monster.
Oh, they'll break the skin, but.
Oh, they can fuck you up a little bit, but they're not going to drag you under the.
Got to call this lady. She adopted this fucking dog, which was like, the little Caesar's cans, the cute little white dogs.
Yeah, yeah.
Yep.
She got one of those.
The little
I forget the name
Yorkies
of
or
it.
whatever?
She adopted from fucking Mexico. And we could drop 911 call. We get there, and this fucking dog's got her pinned up on her washer and dryer. And it's like she's got bite marks all over her. And like we come walking in, like, like, and then the fucking little bastard turns on us. Holy shit.
You have to punt it?
Did you guys try speaking Spanish to it? I mean, it's from Mexico.
No, I gave that thing the best Pat McAfee fucking
Siéntate.
impression I got. Just fucking booted. Because it was great. Dude, I had to throw out my pants. I put holes in my pants. And I'm like yelling at her. I'm like, why did you call us? Like, what do you want me to do?
Call animal control.
Oh, yeah. I basically like punted it and ran up on the fucking dryer sitting next to her.
Are you okay? Are you okay?
You're like, call us some help.
Yeah, fuck yeah.
Call the fire department.
It was awful, man.
So you could say that Lake Lanier does have. I don't think the reputation that it is garnered is going anywhere. Like it's one of those things. It is kind of funny. Like some of the articles you do read, it's like there are like a number of people who have never heard of the things about Lake Lanier. But I think it's when you're younger. Like they won't tell kids about it because fuck, why you want to tell kids that there's fucking dead bodies underneath? Hey, we're gonna go up to Lake Lanier. Summertime fun, whatever. And it's like, there's dead bodies. You don't tell them that. But then as they get older, you hit that age where it's just like, hey, have you heard about this?
Like, quit fucking around.
Yeah.
Lots of people die on this lake.
It's just one of those things that you're just like, there is probably an element that it's like, and it's been this way for, probably since humans have existed, but there is the idea of, bodies of water being haunted or something there. And you could make the case, and it's probably been made the case before, that, a lot of the folklore, a lot of the creatures or the supernatural forces that inhabit bodies of water are meant to be cautionary tales, that they're meant to, you want to keep kids away from possibly these dangerous bodies of water, because a lot of kids can't swim. You don't want your kids getting too near the water, because that's what happens. Like kids in water usually don't often is a lethal combination. So you want to keep them away from the water. So it's like, is it one of those? Is that one of those situations that I think that some of these things are like, don't go too far off, because something's going to drag you down.
I mean, there's tons of times where you're on the water and you're floating in a tube or something. You just get that eerie feeling. You just kick your feet up. You're like, oh, just get the heebie-jeebies there for a second. And you're like,
it's the lake zombies reaching up.
But I mean, that happens all the time. So it's one of those weird things. It's like, water's a mystery, and what are some of what's hidden underneath? We have no idea. So.
I have no idea. As part of my research for this case file, I watched the Alan Jackson music video for
Chattahoochee.
Yeah, and it's like, dude, number one, Alan Jackson or his stunt double, he was like wakeboarding in blue jeans. That terrified me more than anything. But also the fact that you just had these people like just walking around in the banks of the river, like not necessarily Lake Lanier, but just like walking around in these random places near the river. And that honestly terrifies me. It's just like, there could be anything under there. Anything. Fucking like catfish, giant crayfish. I don't know, but there could be anything. And these people think this is just normal. Like it's
portal to hell.
Yeah. And I understand a lot of people who've grown up around rivers and stuff like, oh, there's nothing to worry about. There's no, whatever.
Well, it depends. Because I've partaken in a lot of river activities up in the Peace District because there's not really nice lakes. So a lot of people, you tube on the river, you camp on the river. The river's generally pretty calm. It's not tied to any big body of water, right? Like it's a little different when you got big fish and stuff creeping in these southern waters. I'm like, yeah, a little different, but
it's like, and I don't know. Yeah, like when I was a kid, I used to play. It used to be like a pretty sizable creek and stuff like near my house. I was always playing in the creek and stuff like that. But
were you noodling?
No, I wasn't noodling.
Goddamn,
it wasn't even that big a fish in there. It was like it didn't never really got like more than waist deep in some areas. Like the deepest part would probably be about waist deep. But but it, like just seeing people play in like an actual river, like it's like it creeps me out. Like seeing people just walking around in rivers where it's like it's all murky, you can't see the bottom. And
I love jumping in a fresh river is nice, like Glacier Fred type shit. Beautiful.
If you can see the bottom, I'm fine with it. Like it's
Glacier Fred.
Nice and clear.
Glacier Fred. You never heard of Glacier Fred?
No. Glacier Fred.
He's famous for swimming in rivers, bud.
Yeah. He's a pretty cool dude.
It's the best river swimmer there is.
And I don't know. I just if the lake is all murky and stuff, I'm not going near it. Like I'm not.
I'll sit on the bottom. He's sitting on the shore.
Yeah. I'll sit on the shore. I'll get on a boat. Like I'll be like, I'm fine sitting on a boat.
Yeah, what if the boat sinks?
That's true.
Then you're in the water.
Yeah, then you're fucked.
Then it's the lake zombies.
Better hope you got those water wings, bud.
No, it is super weird because I learned to scuba dive in Okanagan Lake. And you go down and you can't see shit. Yeah. You go down, you're down 60 feet. You put your hand out and like your glove starts to disappear. And you're like, why am I down here? This is not fun.
That's scary.
Like, where's the fucking clownfish and the parrotfish? Where's all the cool shit? No,
No, he's shopping cart and a fucking dead junkie.
Shopping cart. There's an old like milk truck, some tires.
But that's like there is a bunch of there's stuff like that down there, and it's like these are the hazards that you have in like murky waters, especially ones of like these flooded towns. Like you get snagged on something, and it's like
down you go.
You can get down. You go. You're whatever.
And
they're
then
saying
you're
there's
some
ghosts. And then you're the next ghost. But they're saying that there's drastic depth changes. Like 1 second you'll be in like knee deep water, and then you'll take like one step over, and there's just like a 30-foot drop, just like whoop, and it's fresh water, so you're not as buoyant as you would be in salt water. So I would assume
if you're not prepared for it,
you're and just getting sucked down.
When they flooded that valley, there was like a little cliff, and then like a little plane on top, and you're like, I'm wading through in knee deep water, and then you step, and boom, down you go. You can't swim. No one's there to help you.
And these are the kind of things that contribute to that legend. And I think it'll keep being one of those things, just because I think that it is the natural, it is just the natural reaction for humans to attribute hauntings or bad stuff to bodies of water. Like it'll always be that way until they fucking drain this fucking lake.
Well, yeah, and like the amount of deaths per year is not like, it's not going down. It's just kind of like staying it's staying at this proportion to the amount of visitors. That's how many people are dying. You know, if it's like 1 in 100,000 people drowned who visit this lake.
Yeah. I'm sure they saw a drop like during the, drop off during the COVID stuff, but it's going to go right back up. Like it's not anything.
Yeah.
And I also I didn't look up like what their total like depth, like the drop in depth has been, like if it's going to keep going down, just the way that everything seems to be kind of be all the reservoirs and stuff that
Kind of slowly
that
depleting.
we built back in these towns are just like getting lower and lower. And I'm wondering that if it'll be, people still go in this again. This is not it was never meant for recreation. Like it was never meant to be used that way. And nobody really stops it. It's just like an accepted
literally
fact.
have a better chance of surviving going swimming in Amity Island. Like that's legitimately real thing here. Like let's look at Jaws' death toll and compare it to fucking
Yeah, they don't have it. It's just a couple of movie, right?
yeah. Like fuck.
Yeah, all the Jaws movies put together, you're fine. Like versus Lake Lanier.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd rather
Crazy.
face a 25-foot shark man-eater.
Yeah, you got better chance. Your odds are better.
Odds are better. There's a lot of swimmers out there.
That should be the sign when you go there. Disclaimer.
Chances are better swimming with great whites than swimming in this lake.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You are going to die for sure.
So yeah, in conclusion, Lake Lanier
Don't
cursed.
go there. Just don't fucking go there.
Don't go there, especially alone.
Large bodies of water are dangerous. Don't go alone. Use the buddy system.
Yep. And,
Be safe.
and if I listen to this podcast and you're from the region and we miss some stories, make sure to let us know. Like I'm sure there's way more that.
Oh, I'm sure there's hundreds.
Oh, local fucking
Yeah.
stories for sure.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, we're not going there. So next pod trip will not be here. This time,
Absolutely
not even close.
We'll be nowhere near like
We're not
Lanier.
going. We're
Near
out.
death.
We're not going linear death at all. Zero chance.
But yeah, this was the, I forgot to mention at the beginning that this is the Ron Pond monthly fan pick that we do every month for our Patreon.
Mostly every month.
Mostly. No, we did it.
Every month we do it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
We're just a
my bad,
little.
my bad.
We're sometimes just slightly late.
Yeah. It's usually, it's a little bit, sometimes it's a little bit shorter notice, but most of the time we have a good chunk of time to prepare a case file for those of us, those of you on Patreon who are able to vote. And we usually, the thing is a lot of these, they're usually pretty close. Like the voting that we have, I usually throw up about 3 options on it, 3 pretty good case files that go along with, they kind of fit in all the facets of the paranormal. I've got, spooky ones. We've got UFOs, and usually got like a cryptid I throw up in there. Try to give a pretty good choice. And usually the votes are pretty close. 2 of them will be running. I think it was between this one and the Vorozhne. It's like the Voronezh UFO sighting.
Yeah, which we'll have to do another time.
Yeah,
Another time.
they go on the back
Might be
burner, but they come back.
Yeah. So if you want your voice heard, hop on our Patreon.
Hell yeah. And in conclusion of that, who do we have for Theorite of the Week?
This week's Theorite of the Week is John Wantland.
John Wantland.
He decided to cast the boys as the fucking Scooby-Doo gang.
All right.
It's pretty fucking great. He posted Fred is Zell, obviously.
Yeah.
Daphne is Braden because they're both as sexy, but the cheeks are on his chest. That's the only difference. Velma is the Maester Dane.
Sure.
Right, we know that. And then he put me as Shaggy because I'm chicken shit. I get it. Personally, I always see myself as more of a Scrappy Doo.
Okay.
But I'll take Shaggy. Like, that's fine. I'll take the tall guy for once. But he did a pretty good job, too. Like, the fate, like, it all kind of looks like us, too. Braden's is pretty disturbing. Dan's actually kind of hot. It's weird.
Interesting.
And Zell looks exactly
it?
like Fred to begin with.
Just that's pretty much me.
Yeah.
What is it? They're releasing a Velma prequel series, I think.
Yeah, Mindy Kaling's playing Velma, and it's like an adult cartoon, so it might be a little bit fun. It's on HBO Max, I think.
If anybody has not read the Scooby-Doo, what is it? Is it the DC one? They did a run of like Scooby-Doo. Is it Scooby-Doo and Zombies or something like that? No. there was like a comic series where they ran and it was like dark Scooby-Doo. It was like post-apocalypse crazy shit going down, and then
Awesome.
like set in that universe. Like Scooby-Doo is actually like a genetically engineered dog that's like part telepathic, has some weird link with Shaggy. There's fucking monsters like tearing people apart and shit, and it's just like, it is pretty rad. If nobody's, you should go check that out. It's pretty nuts.
It's like, so Scooby-Doo's basically Dynamite.
Almost like it's like a really dark comic, but
I'm into it.
Really, really good. Like it's pretty fucking rad. Like some type of virus kind of it's like one of those post-apocalyptic virus apocalypses where people are turning into monsters and like shit's getting fucked up. Like it's pretty amazing.
Yeah,
Sounds good.
Sounds rad.
Sounds
pretty
dope.
cool.
All right. And if you're not supporting the show and you want to support your boys, your favorite podcast, get early access, ad-free, the Discord. I believe, man, we said 200 hours for a while, but I believe it's probably more like 250 plus. You know what? With inflation, the price of beer is what? You're paying like $8 at the bar, right?
Please help us beat inflation.
Help us beat inflation by signing up for Patreon. We'd appreciate it. This week's newest supporters, J.V. Williams goes up in his full year pledge. Bryant Brown. Daniel Mansbridge with a full year pledge.
Boom. Sounds like a news anchor.
My name is Dan Mansbridge. Shay Friesen. Bryce McWilliams. Daniel Levinson with a full year pledge. Eric Laschuk. It's just me, Mr. B. Is that you?
No, is that me?
Not you? Not Mr. B? With a full year pledge. And a couple from Supercast. If you're more of a Spotify user, you don't really care about Patreon, you don't want to have another app, you can head over there. The same place, alientheorist.com. We have Corey Doran and Aaron Proser. Thank you very much for supporting the show. We appreciate it.
And as we always say at the end of these things, keep those eyes on the skies.
See you in after hours.
The comfort of your favorite seat is now your comfy car selling command center, thanks to Carvana.
It doesn't get any better than this.
Your favorite seat's the best spot in the house. Make it even better by entering your license plate or VIN and getting a real offer in minutes.
There really is no place like home.
And speaking of home, Carvana will pick up your car from yours after you finalize your offer. Visit Carvana.com or download the app and sell your car from your comfy place. The comfort of your favorite seat is now your comfy car selling command center, thanks to Carvana.
It doesn't get any better than this.
Your favorite seat's the best spot in the house. Make it even better by entering your license plate or VIN and getting a real offer in minutes.
There really is no place like home.
And speaking of home, Carvana will pick up your car from yours after you finalize your offer. Visit Carvana.com or download the app and sell your car from your comfy place.